So here in the audio, we can see that we get these fade in options. Now, if you do Control Alt F, you might think it would close your program, but it doesn't. It just resets the fades. So this is what my clip looks like on sort of by default. So in here, I can change all the same things of a MIDI clip. And if I go and click the clip, I've got all the same options. Now, if I come and do any fade-ins, I can grab like a number of my choice, so small value. And then if you drag a lot, it makes small differences, slightly bigger. When you drag, you know, it'll be more amplified. Then obviously if you try to move this this bar one here, it's gonna go up pretty fast. It's just gonna be like really fast snapping. You can also just grab like the top left corner and then drag in. What's kind of cool about this is you can get a lot of freedom kind of with where you grab. It's just like anywhere on the top here, you can grab and drag around, no problem. You can crossfade as well, and this does look admittedly weird on Bitwig, so you'll be like, wow, what the heck's happening here? If you're moving something over, I'll move this to 2.3 to 2.4. We're not losing that data on the second clip. So right now we've lost that data. But once I move that over, it's now fading that data in with this data, or fading it out so that it's back again. So basically whatever's the leftmost here in your region clip, whatever's like being overtaken by this clip, it doesn't matter because this is still the center point. Wherever your fade is, that's where your fading is happening. It doesn't matter that this clip is like farther over than this clip. It doesn't mean anything. It just looks weird and might make you feel weird, but it still works just as you would think it would. You can quick fade with Control F, really handy sometimes if you're just throwing in audio and you don't care to actually like fade it. It just removes the clicks. And if you're doing a fade, you can easily come over here and switch it from a regular accelerated curve to a double accelerated curve, and you can get this sort of motion, which is the default one Ableton uses. Very similar to the previous curve, just a little different. If you want to change the sort of curve option, maybe you want to have exactly the same curve on either side or something, you can change the acceleration in the measurement of decibels. So you can do +6 or infinity down. In the audio event itself, we can mute the audio event just like we can mute the clip, but we can mute just the audio event. So the clip still works, but the audio event it does not. And then we have our stretching modes. This is a whole crazy thing, and there's not like the biggest point in the world to explain it, because if you come and look here, it does actually say what exactly it is it's doing, and you can just click on all the things and figure out what's happening. Now, I do like to use slice for drums, depending on what's happening. The slice does sound quite nice. Stretch and Stretch HD is what Bitwig used to use before they did this update. We have raw and then repitched. So it's gonna kind of stretch it, or based on its BPM, it will change the pitch. And then if it's just raw, it's not gonna do anything at all. I personally always use Elastic Pro. It's like I just put it on and I never touch anything. In the Elastic Pro, you can change the resolution, and it'll again explain the resolution if you're anywhere confused on the resolution. I never actually move the resolution. I find in most situations this doesn't make the biggest difference in the world in my audio. But in the formant here, so this is going to be like, so the formant is by definition several prominent bands of frequency that determine the photonic quality of a vowel. So yeah, that can be applied to really any type of music. So I guess it's core peaking points in the spectrum. It will help control that, the things that build like the qualities of this sound. You can, if this is on, this little orange thing, it doesn't work with it. So if I play this and I change the pitch, sorry, it'll sound like that. If I click this button, it basically makes the formant follow the pitch if you turn this off. You can change them separately though if you wish. It really is situational. If you leave this on and you go and pitch up something, it retains a lot of its original pitch. So if you're just trying to, it could be helpful in some situations where you're pitching up something, but you don't want it to like change everything about it, because then when you start pitching up everything, it starts to sound kind of gross, and it really depends on what it is. So it's situational. But if we click on the clip here, we can actually see that we get these options. So in the audio events section, I can, change things like gain, the pan, the pitch, the formant, onsets, and any sort of stretching, which are determined by the onsets, like where you would have your stretch points, and audio events. In the audio events, you can make completely built-in automation. So you can change it here if for whatever reason you don't want to do it over here. Maybe you don't like seeing these lines or something, or you want it to be more built into the audio file itself for if you do looping. But you can automate the gain, the pan, the pitch, the formant. We can see that because I have -9 gain here overall, that there's just like a line that just determines -9 gain. And if I were to move the pan, we could see that the same thing will happen over here in the pan section. It'll just start panning and describing here in the automation, so that way things don't conflict with each other. The pitch does the same thing, and the formant does the same thing. One interesting thing to point out is that if you're trying to equalize vocals or audio, say you have a vocal take and you want to get consistent amplitude, it's something that I do fairly frequently, is you can actually come in here, do Shift Tab to get a full screen, and you can sort of click around here, and you can see I'm changing the amplitude. So now maybe I'm basically going to do manual compression. This is something that I do like to do from time to time, and what's nice about this compared to, let's say, Ableton, is that as I'm moving things, we can see the actual amplitude and what's happening here. So I can do like, oh, okay, I'm gonna fatten that out, and then I'll click here and then bring this down and bring more down. And you can sausage it and see what you're doing like in real time. And there's also even a little measuring section over here, so you can see 0 and then 18 decibels, which is quite loud, or quite a big difference from 0. So then you can sit here and mess around. Now in the MIDI section of things, we can see again, if I click on this, we get some different options here, like the timbre, the pressure, the pitch, pan, gain. So timbre and pressure are new. We even can talk about MIDI channels and sort of like the key range and your velocity and your release velocity. So how fast you take your finger off the key and stuff like that. We can see down here in our MIDI view, we have the option between regular MIDI. We can grab this and stretch it around and zoom in or zoom out. And then we can go into the fold, which is more for drums. If you press Shift Tab, we can get a full screen, and we can close the little automation window if we don't want. Down here, we can change this little like playback. So when I grab or touch a note, it plays audio, and I can turn that off if I want. I personally just always leave that on. And then we can open up our, like our velocity and stuff like that and make those changes as well. We also get our timbre, and we can get our pressure. We can get our gain and pan. Now, timbre and pressure, in my experiences, just like basically whatever you're using needs to have those options. Like you need to be able to have timbre and pressure available in whatever it is you're using to be read. There are some devices in Bitwig that will let you read timbre and pressure. All of the Bitwig devices or instruments should be able to, actually respond to these. But for example, like Serum by default won't. However, some different types of plugins that rely on things like timbre and pressure, like maybe some pianos or string things, will actually respond to these. It's just another way of making note-specific information to change things specific to a note versus automation, though at the end of the day, it's kind of the same thing, but more or less for the note. And we can switch between our clip and track just like before. So if we have track, we just see everything on this track. This sometimes can get you because maybe you're like clicking on a clip and you're like, oh, I don't like this MIDI, and you go and delete it, and then you go and do your song and you're like, oh, I deleted all my MIDI. If you're gonna do something like that, make sure you just click your clip, and then you can only see your clip and what your clip's doing and where it is kind of relative to itself. And you can change like its looping points, how far does it extend, all that stuff. So MIDI can be quantized. You can be more specific about your quantize, and you can do end amounts, shuffles, humanizing, and you can do your transpositions. You can still do the same scale or reverse the pattern or reverse, whatever. You can change the channels. And in some situations, you can even select some MIDI here, and you can do your velocity, and you can randomize the velocity. So if I move this chaos up, we get some difference. So if I put my chaos like way up here, and you let go, it keeps moving the chaos, so things keep going. So be wary of that. You can move this and be like, oh, look, some humanization in the velocity, and then like done. It's that quick, and you can make any manual adjustments. You can do this with the release, your gain, pan, like literally everything. You can just very quickly make some definitions and then apply it. One of the final things I want to say about this MIDI is that you can click this layered editing mode, and then you'll start to see like everything. So here we can see some channels. So these are the channels of MIDI, sort of, that are coming into this track. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do track here, and then I'm going to look at this MIDI section, and now I can see my kick and snare listed, right? And then I can go ahead and I can select my hats at the same time. Then I can do my toms, my cymbals. I can put my sub in if I wanted to. Let's see. Add some sub. That's what my sub does. And if I press F, we can get actual like notes of this, and we can see basically what everything is doing. So this is nice. Maybe you're working on like, you know, some chords, but then you want to have like some alignment with your sub. You can come here and see exactly what's going on. So here I clearly have my chords, and then I have my sub below. Just give you some multi-layered editing, which is pretty handy. You can also do this with audio. So if I come in here and just grab some audio tracks, here we are. You can even grab, in some cases, if it's a hybrid track, some MIDI tracks, and you can see the MIDI. So if you want to line up some audio to MIDI, you can do it this way as well. But there's some options here, and you can actually change between, like, you know, clip events. So here we can see our clip events, all our fading, everything that's going on. We can change all the fading of the clips from here as well. If we want to look at it in this sort of manner, we can go look at all of the pitch. We can see all of the pitch, like the clips automation, if I do any pitch stretching or changing. So if I mess with this guy's pitch, I can see this guy's pitch, and you can sort of do some cool things like that. If you want to work on like multiple clips in the same area and you want to pitch them all up or something at the same time. Lastly, in the MIDI section, you can throw some audio in the background in this section. So if I were to go ahead and say I want to work on this track, but in the background I want to throw my vocals in the background, then I can do that, and it doesn't matter where the track is, it just matters where it is on the arranger. I can now see all the vocals in the song, and then I can line up any sort of MIDI I want to do with it, and you can see some audio in the background. Again, it's kind of handy in some situations. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. See you next time.